Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Calvin Tobin Show. I am your host, Calvin Tobin. Today we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. All right, last night in the NHL, 13 games were played, and out of the 26 teams that were played in the 13-game slate, 3 of those teams ended up scoring 7 goals, with the New York Islanders completely dismantling the Toronto Maple Leafs 7-2. Then the Nashville Predators took care of business against the Buffalo Sabres, beating them 7-3 with a new face in Luke Evangelista leading the way with 4 points. Then, to top it all off, the Columbus Blue Jackets scored 7 goals in the highest scoring game of the night, beating the Washington Capitals 7-6 in overtime fashion, thanks to Jack Roslovic scoring the game-winning goal. But before the Columbus Blue Jackets even won the game, Alex Ovechkin ended up reaching another all-time goal-scoring milestone, and he ended up passing Wayne Gretzky this time. And it wasn't for the all-time scoring goals at 894. It was actually the most 40 goal seasons in a career, and now Alex Ovechkin has 13. And because of Ovechkin's performance last night, he now has 820 goals in his career. He is now 1 point shy of 70 points on the season, and is now 21 points shy of 1,500 points on his career. And because of how many games that are left to be played for the Washington Capitals, there is a good chance, and a most likely chance, that Alex Ovechkin will not reach the 1,500 point mark by the end of this year, but will do so within the first 10 to 15 games of next year. In other NHL news of what happened last night, the Carolina Hurricanes ended up beating the New York Rangers and became the second team this year to reach 100 points on the season alongside the Boston Bruins. And now they have a record of 46, 15, and 8. But the real battle of the entire NHL comes out of the Central Division between the Dallas Stars, the Minnesota Wild, the Colorado Avalanche, and the Winnipeg Jets, is because the Wild, the Avalanche, and the Jets all have 40 wins, but the Dallas Stars don't, and the Dallas Stars are in first place with 90 points. But here's the thing, that overtime loss attribute is helping Dallas stay alive in first place with 90 points, because they lost last night to the Seattle Kraken 5-4 in overtime. If that loss was in overtime, Minnesota is in first place of the Central Division. And the Winnipeg Jets just reached their 40th win of the season and are 2 wins ahead of the Dallas Stars, but are 7 points behind them. Make that math make sense. But out of what transpired of the 13 games, if you had to watch one of them, the game I would have watched was the Carolina Hurricanes New York Rangers matchup, because that game, the Carolina Hurricanes ended the New York Rangers 4-game winning streak, and they're doing this, and they did it in the first game of the back-to-back series that the New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes are having. And the Carolina Hurricanes are battling for first place of the Metropolitan Division, going win for win with the New Jersey Devils. Now, in this game, the first 2 periods, it was all New York, because they lived in Carolina's offensive zone, especially in the second, constantly feeding off open ice and getting multiple breakaways and having constant scoring chances. But out of all of the craziness that they went through on the offensive end, they could only get 1 goal out of it, thanks to Tyler Moe scoring their first goal at the end of the first period. But in those first 2 periods, the Carolina Hurricanes would just sneak into New York's offense zone, luckily having fortunate enough to get some breakaway shots and scoring chances. But their scoring didn't happen until the 3rd period, thanks to and the Rangers can thank Shesterkin for that one, keeping the Carolina Hurricanes shut out for the first 2 periods. But as soon as that third period happened, this is where the story of the game completely changed, because there were 4 goals scored, which 3 of them by Carolina and 1 of them by New York. But the scoring still didn't happen for Carolina until the second half of the third period, which was the final 10 minutes. And what happened is that 3 of the 4 goals were scored inside a 49-second frame, with 2 of them coming from Carolina and 1 of them coming from New York. But Carolina couldn't break the tie of New York until the very end of the game, when Teuvo Teravainen ended up securing the game-winning goal for Carolina. And because of Carolina winning this game and Minnesota beating New Jersey, Minnesota can thank Minnesota for keeping New Jersey at a distance now, because now the distance between first and second place is more than 1 point now, and now the New Jersey Devils just have to wait and hope that the Carolina Hurricanes will lose some games while they can gain some momentum winning some games. But while the Carolina Hurricanes are enjoying being back in first place of the Metropolitan Division, the Boston Celtics are trying to find their place back into first place of the NBA. And they're close, because they're in second place right now, and they're 2 games behind the Milwaukee Bucks, as the Milwaukee Bucks have a top record of 51-20. The Boston Celtics got their 50th win last night against the Sacramento Kings, beating them 132-109, and they beat Sacramento on the road. And this is what the Boston Celtics have been the absolute best at this year, because they have a record-best road record at 24-14. They are also the second team to reach 50 wins on the season. And last night, they ended up in the dismantlement of the Sacramento Kings, and that dismantleness didn't come till the second half of this game, because these Sacramento Kings, this actually isn't a Sacramento King to just brush past by, because this year they actually are a team to be looked at and focused on, because they are one of 3 teams that have 40 wins in the West, with Denver and Memphis being the other 2, and they have the #1 scoring offense in the entire league, scoring 121 points per game. But what happened in this game, the first half of this game resided on the dynamic duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown for the Celtics, and the dynamic duo of Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox for the Sacramento Kings. And what happened in that first half is these guys were going basket after basket, lacing shot after shot, not giving any one of each other a chance to even have a slight slim of a lead. And the only way that these 2 could do it in the first half was they either had to get a turnover that they scored off, or be able to score at the free throw line. And that was the only way that any of these teams would have it between a 2, 3, 4, 5 point lead. But as soon as the second half came, this is where the game got really sloppy, because especially on the Kings side, because the Celtics just kept the same energy going and kept that momentum up through the entire way, while the entire second half, the Sacramento Kings just slumped and slopped it away, and it looked like that they weren't even trying because of how much more dominant the Celtics looked. And in that second half, for how bad or how slumpy and sloppy the Sacramento Kings defense was, the Boston Celtics took every advantage of it, going on multiple scoring runs and hardly ever letting the Kings get on a consistent basis in their scoring range. But because these Celtics, the way they took every advantage of it on the scoring part, they did so much so is that they ended up getting a 27-point lead late in the fourth quarter on the Sacramento Kings, and ended up winning by 23, thus the score 132-109. But here's the thing. Even though that the Sacramento Kings had a terrible second half, the Celtics couldn't have been that good or had that good of a second half or a good of a game if it wasn't for that second half defense stealing the ball 5 times and making the Kings force foul to be able to stack their lead. All right, that's the end of the Calvin Tobin Show. Please subscribe to my channel at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports media. And please follow me on Instagram at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports media whatsoever. And